we are going to learn how to calibrate a dual range force sensor. And first we're going to go through the system setup to understand physically how it's all connected, and then we'll go through the calibration procedure in Logger Pro. The first thing we want to look at is the dual range force sensor itself. That's that black box with the two masses hanging from it. The electronic wires are connected to the computer through a device called the Go Link that allows the computer to read the readings on the force sensor through a USB connection. The sensor itself, or actually I should say that the wires are supported on the clamp so that the sensor is free to hang vertically without having the wires drag it to one side or the other. Notice there's a threaded knob on the top. That knob is just tightened. It's not tightened at all. It's just it's just adjusted a little bit, but so that the sensor is still free to swing back side to side. It's not locked in position. So do not tighten that threaded knob. Notice that the sensor is mounted on a support post and a clamp, and the clamp is kind of behind it, pretty hard to see. And the whole thing is then supported on a ring stand. So that's the physical setup of the force sensor. You'll notice that it's called a dual range force sensor. That means it has one range between plus and minus 10 newtons and the other between plus and minus 50 newtons. For most of our work, we'll be using the plus and minus 10 newton scale. That means that we should not apply forces larger than 10 newtons. Okay, so be sure that the switch is moved to the left and that we're all set up for calibrating at plus or minus 10 newtons. Now we'll go to the Logger Pro setup, and we'll start calibrating. When your screen first pops up, it'll look something like this. Notice that down to your lower left here, it shows that there's some kind of residual force left over from a previous experiment, and so it's usually a good idea to just immediately zero out the sensor by clicking this zero button. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to calibrate it, and so we want to go down to the experiments file down here to calibrate. Okay, and then we want to select the dual range force sensor, so we click on that, and this brings up the calibration screen. We're going to do a 2-point calibration. The first point will be 0. We have it set up right now at 0, and so we will enter the value 0. How can I do that? I hit calibrate now, click, enter the value of 0, wait a few seconds, not a few seconds, a few moments, and then hit keep. The next value we want to enter is a value of 2.94 newtons. And to do that, we're going to put 300 grams of mass on the hook, which I've just done. And we're going to enter the value 2.94 newtons, and then hit keep. Then we're going to hit the button right on the lower right where it says done, because we're all done. And you notice that the force reading in the lower left corner is 2.94 newtons. Our force sensor is now completely calibrated, but I want to show you one last thing. This is what the setup looks like while we are calibrating with the 300 gram force applied to the hook, bottom hook of the force sensor. So go through this procedure a couple of times on your own. Practice with Logger Pro at home until you're comfortable that you can come into the classroom, set it up, and calibrate your force sensor.